So I got asked, how do you set up auto turn on GPS? I made a GPS tutorial about this months ago, and we're going to do it today. So it'll be a little more of an advanced tutorial. I'm hoping you guys already know how to do the basics, you know, numpad, control numpad 0, bring up your GPS, so control numpad 0 brings up your GPS, control numpad delete brings up your display, that kind of stuff. As you can see, I am on the server right now. So what we're going to do, and I might not remember all the buttons off by hand because I have a lot of them attached to my SciTech panels and stuff like that, so I have a lot quicker access to it. So I'm not really 100% sure what all these shortcut keys are anymore. But the basic general idea is when you get to a field, so I'm currently on PVV3, so here's our map. It should load up here. So this is where I am. I'm currently on field 57, so it's long as it is short. So it's longer than it is short. So I'm actually going to run, on this map, it would be west-east basic, and then my head lanes or my end rows are going to be a north-south run. So how I like to do it is I'll pull up to my field like this. I'll come to the shorter end of the field that I want to do my turning on. So obviously I want to run east to west in a straight line because it's longer instead of trying to cut north-south on this field. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come in, I'm going to hit new. I'm going to set auto work with so that it has me lined up perfectly here. And then what you can do is you can actually hit here under your auto run. You're going to want to turn on your end field. This way here, what it'll do is it'll just stop you at the end of the field. That's it. So your combine's on, that is set up. You're going to activate your header, turn on your cruise control, and you're going to go. So we're only going to do 9 because that's what this header allows me to do doing corn. So now, don't forget to activate your GPS. Vanilla default is Control W to activate your GPS. So now we're going to go here to the end of the row. And since I have it selected that I want to stop at the end, as soon as the header gets to the end of my row, it's going to stop. So it's going to continue going. And you don't have to use the end of the row stop. I'm using it in this case just to try to show you different modes. So now that I'm at the end of the row, the combine's going to stop for me. So I'm going to turn off my GPS. Now here's how I like to do it. I know for a fact that I need to get down to the other end of the field to do the exact same thing. So instead of just shutting off the combine, running down, I'll go here, because this will be my first pass kind of deal. I'll reset my GPS. Now, like I said, instead of using control all the time to bring up my mouse cursor, I can do it just as easily with my SciTech panel. So what I'm going to do now is reactivate my GPS. And I still have it set to stop at the end of the field. I'm just going to activate, and I'm going to go down the entire end of the field. And then when I get to the end of the field, it's going to stop. And then I'm going to go north and make that pass, and then I'll set up my auto turn. So this is going to take just a second. I'll leave you guys here with me, and we'll talk a little bit. But this is a new John Deere that's, I'm not sure if he's going to release it or not. Taylor Farms John Deere. It's the S680 with header. Comes with this header, comes with a wheat header and a grain trailer. I think it has 3 different motor types, tracks, duals, and singles. So as you can tell, this one here is our tracked one. And then it's his header, which is running at 9. I upped the capacity on this one to 30K, so about 700 bushels. Versus the 21165, which is about 600 bushels, which is about realistic for this combine. But this is the same combine that we're using on other maps. So as we're coming down here, some of the things, I'll go over a brief little thing on GPS. So if you look in your HUD, and unfortunately, since I said I have vehicle groups which are in here, so you'll see this on the screen because it comes up with a control key. But you have, starting with your buttons up top, you have your load and save course. You can select your next store slot, up or minus, or you can delete a saved course. I've never used it. That is one setting I've never done. I always just reset them all myself, just out of habit. You have plus minus work with, so if you notice your work with is too big for the actual implement, you can make it smaller or bigger. Or you have your auto work with, which works out really well. So you can just come in, a lot of the equipment now is set with an auto work with. Sometimes you'll get a piece of equipment that's not set properly. This one here, you can shift your course left, shift your course right, so it'll actually move your entire course left, your entire course right. And then you can actually rotate it completely 90 degrees on itself. And then the bottom two is actually to rotate your courses left and right. Now that I'm coming up to the end of the field, you'll see, because I have auto stop on, it'll get to the end and it'll stop. So like I was saying, you can actually move your course all the way to the right or to the left, and you can just see the red arrows, hopefully through vehicle groups which are moving. And then you can put it right back to where you want it. Rotate the whole thing 90 degrees. And actually, you'll see my tires change just at the bottom there of the FDR yarder. You'll see the tires change as I do it. And then you can actually rotate it parallel or on a rotation. So if you're running on a field that's not completely straight, it actually bends a little bit, or it's not set straight, so it's on an angle. I don't think we have any that I'm talking about on PV. I know there was one on Sinovka, which was my first demonstration I did on Sinovka. No, these ones here all look fairly square. But if you had a field that went on like an angle, or a 45 or whatever degree angle, or here, 13. Let's zoom in on field 13. So field 13, how it has this angle, you can actually get your GPS to line up to that angle and do that whole field with that angle. Obviously, you would be running north-south to get it, or you can just, square off your field, do that little triangle bit by itself, and then continue running square lines down the rest. But so that'll work that way. That's what that is for. Same as 16, how it has that edge. You can actually do the whole thing that way. And like I said, I am active on the servers, so I did ask Norm that if he sees that my combine gets full to come empty it for me. So now that we're at the edge of the field, we're going to break our GPS by turning it off. We are then going to plow this other row. Of course, he's going to stop right behind me. So we're going to want to come here, and like I said, you can just rotate your course 90 degrees here. Or you can just have it set itself again. So just hit the 90 degree rotate. And it's going to be off like that. So what I usually do is, usually here I'll just come in and I'll just hit new course. It'll realign it to right where I want it. So then I'll activate my GPS again. My header and combine are still running, so I'll go up the field one more time. So if I was to run this field short side all the time, like the way that I'm going now, north-south, I would have actually done west-east on both sides of the field as a long pass, and then I would have set up my auto turn. I find this way works a lot better, because your auto turn will still go to the edge of the field, but sometimes you'll miss like a triangle piece in the turning radius, and usually then you have to go back and hit all your triangle pieces. By doing it this way, you're going to notice that I'm not going to have those triangle pieces. And I like doing it this way too, so if, let's say I'm running a straw crop, wheat, barley, oats, rye, something that'll leave a straw behind me, when the combine hits the end of the crop, it'll go to the end of the field, but by the time you get to the end of the field, it's done laying its swath. So then you don't have that curve in your swath when it turns. So now that I'm here, what I'm going to do is the same button down here that I used to set up my stopping at the end of the field. I'm going to click it one more time, and now if you look down in the bottom corner, you're going to have a straight line with an arrow. Whatever way that arrow is facing is the way that your combine's going to turn. So if you want it, in this situation, I want to turn left. So it's that way. If I was on the other end of the field and I'd be turning right, you can just click up here, and you can see it says turn left, turn right. Click it, it'll automatically now turn me to the right at the end of the field. But I want to go left. And then another thing you can also do is if you didn't want to do your, like let's say you were plowing. Realistically, real life, when you plow the innards of the field and then you come back and you plow your head lane, right? So when you combine, it's opposite because you'll trample over stuff. But when you're plowing or seeding, you don't want to seed your head lanes first, realistically, because of soil compaction. So what then you can do is you can come in here, you have your auto stop distance. You can actually adjust that. So like right now with playing with it, I'm at 13.3. So when I get to 13.3 meters to the end of the field, it'll actually start his turn. I don't want him to do that. So I'm going to leave it here set to 0 or 1, which just means once he gets 1 meter to the end of the field, he'll make his turn. But he'll actually just like complete right to the edge of the field. So that's what that is. And then let's say you wanted to run multiple combines. So you and your buddy want to do this together. You both want to set up auto turn. You've both mowed either end of the field kind of deal. You're now sitting beside each other. And I don't know why I always call it mow. I watched my other tutorial video today on GPS. I'll have it linked down in the description. I called it mowing there too. But if both of you want to do it, you can use the shopping cart to copy a course from your neighbor. So one of you sets it up, and the other one can copy it. And then you're going to want to use these. The big plus, the big minus here, that's right under GPS mod. So if you have one other combine, you're going to hit 1. And then if you notice above your satellite, you now have a bunch of rows and then a 1. So what that is going to do is every time he gets to the end, he's going to skip 1 space. And for every combine you have down the line, you're going to want that to be 1 more. So if we had 2 combines, that would be 2. 3 combines would be 3. 4 would be 4, so on and so forth. So what that would mean, right now I have it set to 1. So if I go down the end of my field, I'm going to do this on the short, just so it's easier to show. And I'll have it turn to the right. And my kid just woke up. I'll go grab her in a second. So if I go here, new course, which will set it right, I now want to turn to the right. So I'll adjust it to turn to the right. I hope Norm's not going to be in my way. So I'll activate my GPS. I'll turn on my cruise control. Now that I have it set to skip 1, when I get to the end, he'll actually skip 1 full row and go down the next pass. So what I am now doing is, let's say my buddy was with me. He would be in that next pass, right? So he'd be 1 more combine width over. So I'd want to be ahead of him by a fair amount. Doesn't have to be massive, just ahead of him. And I think Norm might actually be in my way. Which wouldn't surprise me, none. He's always in my way. Yeah, he is. So I'm not going to do anything. Everything should stay active just the way it is. I'm just going to get out here, jump into my 8R. And let's just put him on the other side of this track. Ignore the fender. I don't know why my tractor's still running fenders on it. I thought I took the front fenders off. So jumping back in, I'm just going to reactivate my GPS and then hit my cruise control again. And nothing should have changed. So he'll get to the end of the field. So now here is where you'd actually leave that little triangle that I was talking about. When you run just straight auto turn. See how he skipped that 1 row and now he's going to come back in. Right on course. So my buddy would actually be, and I'm pointing to my screen like you guys can see me. My buddy would actually be coming down this lane here. So I'd be coming right back up beside him. And then he'd be coming beside me. So, and if you noticed, I switched now to making a left-hand turn. So I made a right-hand turn to come into this. I'm now making a left-hand turn, and I'll still continue to skip 1. Or if I want, I can do it while I'm moving. I'm now going to skip 2. Price for paper. Wow, it dropped. I don't care. So now when I go, you're going to see here where I didn't do an end lane. Here, it'll be fine. Sometimes the combine will stop in the field, which is really annoying. That's my cat. But now you'll see I'll skip 2 lanes. So now there's 2 lanes of crop in there. So if I had 2 other combines with me, that's what I'd want to do, because they'd both be in those gaps. And then I'll just come back down the field. So I like having it pre-cut the head lanes, like where I want to turn. So if, for instance, this was a straw crop, I would have actually, as I came out onto that grass, I would have left my swath there. So this way here, I'm just avoiding that. So by the time he gets to the end, he would have had enough time to drain out whatever swath he had, leave it on the field, and then in a nice straight row. So, and that's just pretty much that. I mean, if you want to skip 3, you can by changing it to 3. You can change it back down to 1. Or if you don't want to skip any, just go to the -1. Now it's 0. He's going to skip at least 1 because I didn't get it in time. So he should come back down this one. And then this here is usually when I find when he'll leave that triangle. And it should hopefully not make a liar out of me. When I get up here where I didn't cut that line, it should leave that little triangle when it tries to turn. Fingers crossed it's going to leave that triangle. Just so it doesn't make a liar out of me. Let's see. Come to the end of the row. See how he's going to... So what he's going to do now is he's going to turn right back down. And there's the triangle. So when you're running one combine, I don't like to leave... Like, that's why I cut the head lane or the end row like that. Is just so it doesn't leave that. And that's why I like doing it. And that's basically how you set up auto turn GPS. You're going to have to play with it a little bit. The more familiar you get with how GPS works, the better it is. Alright guys, so at the end of the video here, I'm just going to show you guys I happen to get a hold of Norm. So what we're going to do is we're going to run auto GPS. We're not going to touch anything. So everything is set up properly. So that when we get down here to the end of the field, I'm just trying to move my camera a little bit here. So when we get down to the end of the field, what's going to happen is since Norm's on the inside, he's going to start making his turn first. So he's not going to come back down the next lane right beside him. That's actually my next lane. He's going to come down the one beside that. So at the end of the row, what you're going to see is Norm's going to automatically turn and come back down. And then I'm going to turn at the same, like right behind him at the distance that we are. And I'll come right back down the next lane right beside. And by doing this, this is how you'd run multiple combines. So if you had 3 combines, you'd stagger it the same way. So if we had another guy, he'd actually be in front of Norm doing it the same way. So we're coming up here. We're now on 56, which is our biggest field, because I actually finished off 57 by myself, running auto turn while I was editing the video. And then I decided that before I lost Norm, I'd add on to it just a little bit, just to get it to that 30-minute mark of how to run GPS and do a brief demonstration. So you just heard my my beeps. It wasn't my actual beeps. It was my combines, about 50%. I think Norm's running about 22%, so a little bit off from what I am. And you can tell Norm's already been running head lanes. So he already mowed. Here I go again, calling it mowed. He already ran this. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to drive through this even though it's already been done. And then it'll still show you, like, if you only did your one end row, what it would do. So you'll see here. And when you're running multiple like this, you can actually get away without doing your end rows properly. So you could actually just not do your end rows and run 2 combines side by side. Because you'll see here, Norm's now going to come out of the field. And he's not going to leave that little triangle piece as if you're running separate. Because he's now coming completely out of the field. You'll see he's going to skip 1. So this is originally where I am now is where he was. Now he's going back in and I'm going to come right back in right behind him. And that is how you run multiple combines using auto turn on GPS. So the key to do this, and I went over it briefly in my other video. I'm trying to use my push to talk so Norm knows what I'm talking to. I should have been smart enough and put myself on voice activation, but I didn't. But for a second, Norm, you might not be able to hear me, but I'm going to continue talking anyway. So if you hit control, and I'm not talking to Norm anymore because I need my mouse. Here, in between basic and auto run, you have your plus minus. So if you want to skip 1 row because you have 1 other combine with you, you're going to hit the plus. So it's a +1. If you want to skip 2 lanes, it's going to be +2. So if you had 3 combines If you had 4 combines, you're going to want it to be +3, because whatever one is first is going to want to skip the 3 lanes, so that you're 3 lanes and then it's going to work out. So, and then you'll see here, we're going to come back down the end of the field, and then we'll do one more turn just so you guys can see it from this perspective. And Norm can now hear me again, so he's probably thinking I'm hilarious. But we'll get down here to the end of the field, and you'll see, like, I did mow, or plow. I harvested. Let's stop using the word mow, because we're not mowing. I harvested up here just a little bit, just to make it easier and not leave the triangle on ourselves. But when we get down here to the end, you'll see Norm will skip the line directly beside him and come back down the next one, and I'll fall in right beside where he is right now. And you can see, like, Norm's actually running. So on the server, the way that we're running it, I actually run like a dark blue. So he's actually running my combine and I'm running his. Quite awkward. But you'll see here that when he gets to the end, he'll make his turn down, skipping one, and then I'll fall in right the row that he skipped. And that, folks, is how you run multiple combines on GPS while working auto turn. And it works really handy. So here he gets to the end of the field, and I can guarantee you he's not touching anything. It's all done all by the computer, and you'll see here I'll get to the end of my row. I'll start my turn. You can see now that he skipped one. He's now going back down his row, and I'll go back down mine, and we can actually continue the entire length of the field doing this until one of us gets full, because, well, we're the only 2, well, birds on the server, but we're the only 2 that'll empty out these combines, so. Alright guys, hope everyone has a great day, great night, great evening, great whatever time it is for you. If you like the video, hit the comment, or if you like the video, hit the subscribe button. If you have any more questions, leave them down in the comment section below. And if you really, really need to get a hold of me and you really want more, check me out on Twitter. It's all at Jador Gaming. All the links will be down in the description below. Everything will be there. So like I said, have a good one, everybody.